I met Yuli when I was in Bali. She is living in the north of Bali, and she lives in this shack. And behind her, in the backyard, there are a few cows. Yuli doesn't know how old she is. She makes, like, every day she sews beads for a living. And if she sews one pair of slippers beads onto the pair of slippers, it's like 1,500 beads in one pair of slippers. It takes her about 3 to 4 hours to complete one pair. And if she's lucky, she can finish 3 to 4 pairs a day, because each pair of sandals takes about 1,500 beads in total to make. And for each pair, Yuli makes 2,000 rupiah, which is 16 US cents. If she can make in 1 month 120 pairs of shoes or slippers, she makes 240,000 rupiah, which is $14. And in these parts of Bali, the minimum wage is 130 US dollars. Yuli does not have enough money to feed her family, to see a doctor, and to put her siblings to school, unless she borrows money from the informal sectors at astronomical interest. Every day she beats until her eyes water, her wrist hurts, and her back hurts. So, what if we were to tell you, this is only one face of poverty. There are so many faces of poverty, and poverty is ubiquitous in that this is why it is United Nations' top sustainable development goals to eradicate poverty. So, what if I were to say that we can help Yuli to turn her cows into a new asset class? She enables her to raise loans and raise herself to a better life. And this is the reason why I'm so excited with working with Sentinel Chain, because of the opportunity to turn informal assets into formal assets. Selamat siang, bapak-bapak, ibu-ibu, and everybody here. Kulo nuon. So the company that I work for is a technology company. We are building a platform, a blockchain platform that will bring financial inclusion to unbanked communities. And we do this by RFID tagging their livestock and enabling it to be changed to write proof of ownership for the livestock and enable farmers to get access to accessible, affordable loans. So when we talk about financial inclusion, what is it? So it is really delivering financial services to a segment of the population that has no access to financial services or cannot afford banking services. The World Bank says that there are 1.7 billion people around this world without access to formal financial services. And more than 70% of them, according to a report by KPMG, lives in Southeast Asia. Surprisingly, the mobile phone penetration is 141% in ASEAN compared to a global average of 112. Maybe that is why there are more Facebook accounts than bank accounts. So there are many solutions out there for the unbanked, but most of them address the payment problems of financial inclusions, meaning like looking at the payment aspects of the financial inclusion. So this is the traditional method of solving financial inclusion. Firstly, you create a secure transactional account to enable the unbanked to store funds. And then you enable them to make and receive payments, and then you enable loans to be made. savings, and finally, insurance. But we find that this is a problem because unbanked do not really want to adopt payment systems and payment solutions. They are very comfortable with cash. And for example, if I were to say to Yuli, please put your $16 a month into a bank account, she would rather keep it under her bed, I'm sure. So, and besides, who is going to pay for the transaction fees? Even if it's not a lot, it still adds up, right? So what is it that we can do to help the unbanked? And what opportunities, do they lose by not having financial inclusion? So for one, very often, unbanks, like the rest of us, face opportunities, encounter opportunities that could help them to get out of their poverty. But without any money at their disposal, they are unable to capitalize on these opportunities. For example, they could buy maybe a better feed that will produce better milk and sell their milk for better prices and make more money to live. Or Yuli, for example, could have set up a social enterprise to run her business instead of selling a pair of slippers at 14 US cents. But so then we find that it is easier to provide the unbanked with accessibility to loans rather than the payment solutions. But the problem with lending money to the unbanked is that they do not have credit history, they do not have employment history, and very often people like Yuli don't even have birth registration. So as a lender, why would I trust you with my money? And because of this, new industries have come up to address the problems for the unbanked, and mostly offering unsecured loans at astronomical interest. So for example, in Myanmar, where we have our project, there is a legal cap. So loans are at 30% interest a year. But for example, in a place like Vietnam, there is no cap, and it could be 40% per year. And in Argentina, it could go up to 60%. So MFIs are making a lot of money off this space and lending money to unbanked who really cannot afford to. It's simply not a sustainable situation. So how can we help the unbanked to solve this problem? And what is it that we can utilize from them in order to help them? Hernando de Soto is a famous Peruvian economist, and his work has been nominated for a Nobel Prize in economics. He is also very respected by a few American presidents, and in his opinion, unbanked are not really poor, and the poor are richer than they think, if only they can formalize their informal assets. So when we talk about unbanked and more than 50% of the unbanked living in the agricultural sector, chances are that the one asset that they own would be a cow. And if we can help them to unlock the debt capital in a cow, then we can help them to get out of their financial hardships. And if Uber can do this, and if Airbnb can do this for houses and cars, why can we not do it for the unbanked, right? So our personal take is that it is not a tech problem, it is a human problem. And in order for data to be entered into the blockchain, it has to be secure, it has to be safe, it has to be correct and uncorrupted, because once it's in the blockchain, it cannot be changed. So this is the final piece of the puzzle. It is no longer a financial problem that we are solving, but we are actually solving a provenance problem. How to prove that this farmer owns that cow and not another farmer, and from that create proof of collateral, proof of ownership that will enable them to collateralize this new asset. So blockchain is one of the most quality of blockchain that is most, I would say, relevant in a real-world use case, is its quality of immutability. Once you write it onto the blockchain, data cannot be changed if it is properly managed. The solution for us looks like that for RFID tagging. It is not really, storage itself is not difficult, right? But how to trust that this asset belongs to that person or that unbanked, and is this cow really belonging to this farmer? So for us, we are looking at a third-party attester, and we work on this Byzantine altruistic and rational model, which is a tag model used to solve the consensus problem. And for us, this third-party attester would be the livestock insurer. So on the part of a livestock insurer, this party would have no interest to write a policy valued higher than that of what a cow is worth, because it doesn't serve his purpose. And for a farmer, on the other hand, it does not serve the farmer to write his policy to another name, because when it's time to claim, he will want to claim, right? So finally, for the lender to the farmer, he would it would be in his best interest to make a loan, because due diligence has already been conducted, KYC done based on the livestock insurance company, and there is no good reason for him or her not to make a loan to the unbanked. So this means that it is all round win-win solutions for all parties. And so as you can see, we've actually inverted the pyramid of unbanked solution, and where we were starting with the payment at the end in the traditional model and finishing up with insurance. In this case, we are starting off with ID system, enabling the insurance to be made, and then enabling loans to be collateralized and to be created, issue loan credit, solve the electronic payment problems, and then this whole ecosystem is a closed loop one. This is what a very short video of what the solution. So there are three components to this last mile adoption. This is number one is a physical tamper-proof tag that is attached to the ear of a cow. And it's tamper-proof because once you try to pull it off, the chip will be destroyed. And this protects the data from being abused. And then this is clipped on to the cow. And the insurer then uses his mobile device to bind the policy to the livestock ID tag. The farmer also has the same solution, the same app on his phone with his own ID. And if it doesn't work, the NFC chip, then there is a QR code. And then this is all bound together. It will be published on the blockchain and cannot be changed. So that's the final step. So immediately, this is these are three problems solved at once. And for us, we want this solution to be made available to responsible lenders, and who will then also come and roll out their programs with financial literacy programs and also their social programs. And in order to do, they need the firepower to push forward. And we have just, in May 16, we signed a MOU with the Myanmar government, and we have conducted a joint pilot tagging livestock in different areas of Myanmar. It is a success, and by the beginning of 2019, first quarter, we are going to launch a livestock registry. So I'm out of time, so I'm not going to show this video, but it's actually a video of cows being tagged. some pictures from our time in Myanmar, and Myanmar government has recently announced that for the first time in 30 years, they are able to issue livestock insurance because of our chips. So we tag our project to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals because in bringing farmers out of financial exclusion, we are addressing the poverty problem, and by addressing the poverty problem, it addresses the hunger, well-being, and education problem. And at the same time, because of its innovative nature, we also tag it to the Development Goal 9, which is innovation. And since no party can work alone, we also tag this to goal number 17, which is partnerships, which is what we are looking for. We have been described by World Economic Forum as an exciting and practical real-world use case, and recently we were given an award by the Rotary Club of Singapore with the Association of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises for social contribution. We are at 7 places around the world. Finally, this is just a short quote by Jay Summit that says, disruptors don't have to discover something new, they just have to discover a practical use for new discoveries. And with that, I end my overdue presentation. Thank you very much. And